Hey, this is A Hermit, and I wanted to run something by you that's in today's news. It's actually national news, but it's a very local story for me here in Atlanta. Okay. It's entitled "The Fred Got Two Beatings Per Day." Third graders in Gwinnett County, Georgia, were given math homework Wednesday and asked questions about slavery and beatings. Um, One question read, each tree had 56 oranges. If 8 slaves picked them equally, how much would each slave pick? Another question says, if Frederick got 2 beatings per day, how many beatings did he get in 1 week? And these were homework questions sent home to kids. And parents are screaming racism. And the school district's not really trying to defend it, fortunately. But their excuse is that teachers were trying to integrate math and social studies. Yeah. This isn't a whole lot different from a question my son brought home or an antidote my son brought home some years ago where a teacher said, "Oh, if we were living in such and such a year, Jackson would be a slave." Or another incident where they were playing slavery and they were making each other do hard work and then giving them candy. That was just as damaging because it's making kids believe that slaves got paid something, even if it was candy for their work, and that's just crap. So, is this another reason for homeschooling? Yes and no. No, because the antidotes I mentioned that my son brought home came from homeschool tutoring programs. So, you're not going to escape it. Yes, because parents need greater control over the curriculum that their kids are receiving. Period. Now, if the teacher were being smart, because something in me says the teacher or teachers weren't racist, but they were racially insensitive, and maybe even more so than that, just clueless in the area of racial sensitivity. So, I'm not saying that they were trying to be mean or abusive to black students. I'm just saying, bless their hearts, they're idiots. They didn't know any better racially. And that's the feeling I get from this. Now, if a thinking teacher had wanted to combine slavery, history of slavery, and math, they would have first gone to their black friends and said, this is something I want to do. How would I go about this? At the very least, they would find a more positive spin to the questions and not be asking questions about how many oranges a slave picked and how many beatings a slave got. They might want to say, if I don't know, 3 plantations had a total of 172 slaves, and they freed 2/3 of their slaves. How many slaves were freed? Something more positive. Beatings and picking. And I'm not even sure that my antidote is good, but I think it's better, and I think it's more positive. Look for positive things that came out of slavery. Ask questions about how the production of cotton was improved by the cotton gin, and use math for that. Look at positive things that came out of slavery and ask math questions around that. Or better yet, leave math and history separate, and instead combine reading and history, where they could read books about slaves from a slave's perspective, things like that. I don't think math and history go really well together, because even if we weren't talking about slavery, let's say talk about World War I or World War II bombings, it's all going to be devastating to somebody. So in the end of the day, this is on a homeschooling video because as parents, we need more control over what our kids are taught and how our kids are taught, because at the end of the day, some of these curriculums pulled out of the butts of some people are going to harm somebody in some way. So that's all I have for today.